So welcome to Bunny's Designs. This is a live show recorded for Ustream.tv and also for YouTube for people to watch at their leisure. It's not recorded in HD, so it's not to the highest quality, but hopefully there is a little bit of something in there that appeals. So in the Magical Dawn colour book by Hanna Karlzon, I've been scratching dry pigment. That means it's a water-based medium, so it's either watercolour pencil or a watercolour crayon. So in here I've got Inktense pencils by Derwent, I've got watercolour pencils by Derwent, I've got Neocolor 2s, I think that's pastel, and this one is Derwent graphitint. Now these graphitint are gorgeous, but they are muted colours, so they're like a graphite pencil with just a tint of colour. So they're kind of a bit grungy is the best possible way to describe them. And obviously doing this whole book page by page in dry medium, I'm not activating the colours. I can't see what's going to happen. So normally you would scratch a bit of colour and then you'd activate it with a water brush or an ordinary brush, and then whatever happened in that section you'd then choose your next colour because you've seen what's happening. So this way is a slightly different way, but what you could do is fill the whole book with pencils and water-based crayons and water-based pencils, and you could then take the whole book away and then you can activate this with just a water brush. So you just need to take a water brush and your book, and that's what I intend to do. When this book is full, I will then start to colour it, but I want to fill it first. If you're going on a long trip, or if you're going on an aeroplane somewhere, you could scratch the colour in, leave the pencils at home, and then you can still colour. The disadvantage is you can't actually see what's happening. You can actually activate it, and then if it wasn't dark enough you could go back when you get home, but the idea is this is like the old-fashioned children's magic books. The colour's already in the book, you just activated it with a little brush. And I just thought it was the ultimate way. So if you didn't want to make a little book of watercolours that I have with thousands of shades in it and almost 600 colours and colour squares, you can actually just scratch the colour in and leave the pencil at home and just take the book. And bearing in mind how many pages you can do, there's still a good few days colouring in here. So if you did every page, you know, you'd be able to keep going for a while without thinking, oh, I wish I'd brought such and such with me. Excuse me. So, without further ado, I've had a bit of a look, and slate green number 8 looks a bit like kind of copper that's kind of I've been distraction. I have a distraction, a new fur baby who's just turned round and he's getting comfortable. He's 9 weeks old, bless him. So we have a new fur baby. So I'm a bit distracted today. So I'll just put that to there. I was hoping he would sleep, but he has been asleep most of the time. I keep waking him up when I knock the book. So I'm going to scratch a little bit of colour. Now if I can either do it all over or a little bit, like the stones, the gems, I wanted different facets. So I know what these pencils can do within reason, so I've given a few darker tones, some paler tones, and I've left some. So these will be the lightest. So when I've activated these colours, or this particular colour, I will have colour on the brush, and that palest pale colour on the brush will make the lightest highlight. excuse me, so I don't want any colour in that space. So this looks almost like a harness. So if there was a highlight, it would be in the dip. It's very similar to hair. So if we look back to here, when I was doing her hair, I've put the lightest on the top curl, and then the medium, and then dark, and then medium, then light. And if there's another one, I don't think there's another one. The other things were all dead flat colour, but I wanted to show this one here. Again, start to activate the colour. I can manipulate this to be very pale, so I will get a natural highlight. The same with the crystals. There's some places that's got colour scratched on it and others not. This is Derwent watercolour pencil, and this is pastel, and I do have a piece of tracing paper in between, because this colour will transfer to here and it will damage this page. So most of the time I've just put a piece of paper between, just cheap photocopy paper, but with the pastel I've actually put a piece of tracing paper. If it was just pencils, I wouldn't, because pencils probably won't. If you were doing this with them, that's fine, but these pages are just stopping here, they're not moving, so there's no chance of that doing that. Yes, Suzanne, this is graphitint from Derwent. So this is part 2. Part 1 was where I did the frog, or the bug, and the gems. And part 2, I'm going to do the wings and this area here and finish off. So if I put a little bit of colour here, that's quite a strong colour, I can, when I'm ready, activate this and take it up, and it'll be like a watercolour effect. It won't be all the dead same colour, and the same here, and make that a really pale highlight. And I think I'm going to do the same there and the same there, and it will be a slightly different highlight because the colour's in a slightly different place. And I think I want to do this for the, it's like a harness, I think, and I think I'm going to make it like copper that's kind of a little bit aged, and it's kind of a little bit, because I don't have a gold, I don't think I have a copper colour. You have a look. The sage one is the nearest, I think. Oh wait a minute, there's a brown, there's an autumn brown, that might be quite nice actually. And the other thing that has made red and green. So I've got a green and a red, but I've got obscure colours. So autumn brown is number 17 and slate green is number 8, but when you actually see the colours, it's the reddest of the red. Now my colour is out slightly. It's like a dull copper, and the sage slate green. The slate green is kind of a dull muted green. Excuse me. So I could put maybe a little bit of the copper on the top, and then some of this colour underneath. And And again, the disadvantage is I can't actually see what's going to go on. Now I've been looking at getting some kind of pencil holders for disabled thumbs, so that you can use them for any pencil, because I don't want to have to give up my lovely pencils really. I think we could possibly have a bit of a highlight on that one too. And because it's next to each other, it kind of wants to be a little bit even. Now I have made that a solid colour. See, I've got a bit of a sharp edge on that pencil. Oh, Suzanne says I need some soft glassine for your pastels. Well, I like just plain water brush, because again, if it's a liquid, you won't be allowed on a plane with it if it's a liquid. And I just like watercolouring with pastels. It gives a really soft effect. Especially this one. This one I've kind of mixed the colours up quite nicely. It's not stuck down, I've just folded it, but put a nice crease in it, and it sticks to the page. So I can really get some nice soft highlights once I've taken these colours down. Start at the top. So I had 3 blues, I had 2 reds, the mouse, a scratch colour, but it's pure pastel, but a lovely, lovely, lovely. Oh, glassine is a paper. I don't know why I was thinking it was a fixative. It was a liquid fixative. The only thing I thought about for the pastel is, I don't know how many pages are in here, but there's quite a few. And if everyone's going to have a piece of paper between it's not going to be a happy bunny by the time it gets further down. So I thought that the thinnest would be this paper. So you could use printer paper. On that one I've used printer paper. This is derwent derwent watercolour pencil. But I've really put it on very strong. And again, that's what I love about the derwent pencils. You know, this looks like a pencil, but it's actually a watercolour pencil. But it's very vibrant. You could leave it as a pencil and blend it as a pencil. And that's the versatility of the derwent watercolour pencils. I presume the Prismalo ones do the same. The Prismacolor watercolours. I'm going to have a go with those next. So the next page we have, I will need just an ordinary piece of cheap printer paper, because again, or if it's not expensive, oh, that would be quite good. You can use anything you want, anything that you have. The only reason I use printer paper is because the printer is just up there and I can reach a piece of printer paper. That's the only reason I use that. I do like the idea of having the other paper, but then I thought, well, it's going to get a bit expensive, so I use printer paper. So this particular one, so I've got these colours here. This autumn is very red, it's the reddest. And again, these are muted colours, they're not very thick. Sorry, they're not very bright. Excuse me. Let me have a think. I think that one again goes underneath. I do need a little bit of a contrast. Oops. Yeah. The thing is, it doesn't look that much, but when it gets activated with water, I've done a couple of pages with these, and I love the colours. I'll pan out in a second. I absolutely adore these colours, and I will be using them a lot more. I just need to find some fat finger pencil holders for chubby fingers. I can't find what I was looking for. I think it's there. This is what can happen with I'll pan out a bit. Yes, you could use vellum, greaseproof paper. The best, cheapest one, and the thinnest is, we call it baking parchment, but you can line cake tins with it. It's very thin and white. It makes excellent tracing paper. So if I just pan out a minute or two, these are the colours that you get. I think, and I really like these. So these have been activated, so you get some flat colour, but they're kind of what I would call grungy. You know, there's no bright red for the berries, but we still know that's holly, and the ivy is the ivy green. So really nice, soft, muted colours. There's only 24 in the set, and again, I'd forgotten I had them, so this is going to be, and I might leave some gaps so I can have some highlights. I think I might like some highlights on these, maybe some kind of, and that's all I'm doing, really rough scribble. I'm being a little bit precise, but what happens is you activate it with a brush, and that's where your precision comes in. This is where you start to manipulate the colour where you want it. As soon as you touch this, it goes into a watercolour, and you push it about with the paintbrush, and that's why I really like these. Really do. I think we've put a bit of colour on there. So really I'm scribbling, but a little bit of precision, and actually looking at the colours again, looking at these activated colours. You know, if I do a strong colour, I'm going to get this, which isn't showing up very well, but it's like a russet red. If I do paler, it's going to be over here somewhere. The same with the slate green. If I go here, I'm going to have a very strong dark green. If I go here, it's going to be really nice, pale, cool green, a blue green. And so it's nice to leave a few gaps. For a bit of variation. I don't think I want to do the wings the same. I think I might do the wings different. And again, there's absolutely no point me looking here, because if you look at them, half of them look the same. You can pick a few greens out, but you know that half of them, you would never think that these are the colours. The dark indigo is quite a pale colour. In fact, I like that colour. And and I love Storm. For some reason I'm obsessed by number 8, Storm, number 18. I think I like Indigo, and I think I might do Indigo and Storm, I think. So number 8 goes in there. Excuse me, number 17. So we'll have Storm, and we'll have Dark Indigo. Number 4 and number 18. So we've got a blue, and we've got a purple blue, like a grungy French ultramarine, and then we've kind of got like a really dull purple, reddy purple, but it's dull. So I think the outside could look nice with this one. And you can press on as light or as strong as you want, which again is quite nice. I won't actually zoom in, but you can see how rough. It's a scribble. And again, that's quite nice. What you could do with this is you could scribble some colour in your child's or mother's or grandmother's colour book. This would be good for Christmas. You can send the book with the colours already in. Now, the disadvantage is the person that gets it can't change the colours, but it means if they're poorly and they can just hold a little fat watercolour brush, they can still have the finished pleasure of colouring it in, even though they can't pick the colours. And if somebody's got a full set of certain colours and somebody else hasn't, it would make a really nice present. So if somebody's got the full set of Neo colours, you could spend your nights scribbling now until Christmas and filling a colour book with your, and it doesn't take a lot, you wouldn't use a lot, and sometimes, especially with the Neos and these, any pencils I use, the most expensive ones are the most pigmented, but they are the best. So you don't use very much. Now, if you bought some very cheap ones, you might have to use quite a lot. But if you've got any, especially the Neocolor 2s, you could scratch a whole colour book and give it as a present to somebody in your nursing home that likes to colour but can't hold crayons or pencils very well. Or if your children are nagging that they want to use your supplies and you don't really think they're old enough or precious enough to use them, you could do this kind of thing, and then they think that's wonderful because they're still colouring in colours. So there's all sorts of possibilities. Oh yes, Suzanne, I've looked at those, but they're like a little fat. They're like a little fat. It's kind of 3/4, and then and you put one that sits onto here, and then you can hold it, and then your pencil goes through. But my problem is I have to hold it sometimes like that, so I can't hold it like that, so it would be uncomfortable. I've seen a couple that are thicker, and I think I've got one in here actually, and I should use it. But again, the problem I have with this one, and I haven't used it because it's a pest, you'd have to pull it off every single pencil and shove it on the next one. So I think I might even try to design my own. It was in here, and it was on a set of children's pencils, and it's like a tubey grip thing. But again, because it's a good fit, you would be pulling it on and off every pencil, and I've got thousands of pencils. So I'm not doing so bad when I'm doing this, but it's precision work I can't do very well. So let me have a look. What colour was this? Oh, this was the purple. I was going to do here for purple one. Yes. I think I might just do a little bit here. And then when I use the water brush, I'll get a watercolour effect, so they will look like it's a watercolour. I think that would be quite nice. These don't have to be strong, they can be quite nice. They're very well pigmented, so they're just like a grungy Neocolor 2. They're very, very well pigmented. I'm not sure about light fastness, and I'm not sure about anything else. But I do know that they are gorgeous in colour books. Oh, and I've just upset the boy. Oopsie. I'll have a very quick, so you can see his beautiful eyes. Hello, darling. He's a bit of a snotty boy, aren't you? He's a beautiful little boy. He just sleeps a lot. You can't see his face. Put a light on his face. You might like that, Bungle, because it's warm. He purrs normally when you touch him. This is our new fur baby. He's just so gorgeous. And he's so fluffy! To coin a phrase. He's so fluffy. He's just a tired boy though. He's only a baby and he's got a sniffle. And all the other kittens, all his brothers and sisters had the same vaccination at exactly the same time, and they've not got anything. And he's got the snottiest nose you've haven't you, Bungle? And they're all short-haired, and he's long-haired and fluffy. And nobody wanted them. And I didn't expect him to be in his basket, because he wasn't supposed to be in his basket. He has a beautiful bed that was Betsy's. And in the car, we took him home last night, in the car, he cried and cried and cried. Sorry, we were having a bit of a fur baby moment. He cried and cried and cried so much, a little tiny cry. We had to take him out of his bed, and I had to put him on my knee. And then when we got him home, we put him in his little bed with all his toys. And he went to sleep. He went to sleep in his little bed with all his toys. He's very snuffly, aren't you? He's trying to wash himself. And he decided that he liked his bed. Oops. Oh, oopsie. Let me just... It's like having a baby with a runny nose. He's very snuffly. He sounds like he's having an asthma attack. He's awake now. Hello, darling. Oh, you're so snuffly. So they're going for their last injection and he can't go for his. He's a snotty boy. Oh no, darling, it's all bunged up. That's why we call you Bungle. Oopsie. But he's so gorgeous. Aren't you? He's got such pretty eyes. So this is our new fur baby. Hello, darling. Let's see if we can... You're trying to clean your nose, weren't you? That's what you're trying to do. Oh no, darling. Oh, and he just is such a delight. Come here. I know, darling. He's trying to breathe and he can't breathe. Oh no. Is that better? Oh, Bungle. You're going to sleep now? Oh, bless him. Are you purring? Oh, he purrs. When you touch him, he purrs. He's such a little delight. Are you having a purr? Hello, darling. You just like me to rub your tummy, don't you? So we met him about 3 weeks ago. He's called Bungle. Oh, hi Muse, welcome to Benny's Designs. Anybody else popping in? This is our new fur baby. And he's so fluffy! If he's no better, but he's been back to the vet so many times because he was with the RSPCA. He takes his tummy tickled. Hello, darling. Well, he had really gunky eyes, and we have really poorly cats. We have really poorly kittens. And Betsy was found with all her kittens, and that she wouldn't leave them, and they'd all died, bless. And then we had Bungle, and now we've got one who's bald because he's had to have everything. He's as fluffy as this, and they've shaved him. So we bought him a little coat, and I went to stroke him yesterday because I was poorly. And all I could do was sit and stroke this poor cat, but he really liked it. You're going to go have a sleep. And I went to sit with Bungle, and he disappeared. So we do. He's just been back to the vets, and he's only. But so what they're going to do is he can't have his other injection. So that was our Bungle, and he has a lovely bed, and he wanted to sleep in the basket, and I didn't expect him to do that. So this was yesterday when I was ill. That's his brother, and my job is to play with them, and he was just such a delight to play with him, get him on his back, tickle his ears. And then we had a little boy who was really poorly. He's shaved. He was found wandering. He's really thin. And I took the photograph because I was playing with the other one, and he sat up, and he's not moved for days, so he sat up, bless him. So we tried to feed him with something, and then I was playing with the kittens again. But these are his brothers, and nobody wants the boys. I mean, last week there was a little playpen, and last week he was asleep at Bungle in this little hammock. Well, yesterday the boys were asleep in the hammock, and nobody wants them, so they're on the RSPCA at Goole, and my job is to get them used to being played with and handled. So even though I'm in my wheelchair and a bit lame, I found a job I can do. My daughter goes and cleans and feeds them, and I sit and play with kittens on a Wednesday afternoon. And then the other one was like that as well. So we do have some gorgeous kittens. This is the same pen, but this was last week. And that was Bungle in the same little playpen. So we call him Bungle because he reminds me of the Bungle from the television program. He looks like a little bear. That's who he looks like. From Rainbow, from when I was a child, I think. Rainbow was on. And there were some feral kittens, so that was last week, playing with 9 kittens. And he's feral and she was feral, and after playing with them for 4 hours, they decided that they quite liked the fact that everybody else was having tea. And they've got homes now, they've gone. That's Bungle, bless him, and these are the boys. They're still left, the boys. So it's a terrible job, and it means that when Betsy was ill, Betsy was really poorly, and she didn't like anybody. My job is to go sit in the pen and sketch and play with poorly cats that don't like anybody. And she wanted to sit on my drawing. She was sitting on my drawing, and then she jumped on my knee. It's just to get them used to people. And then Betsy was terrible. 3 or 4 weeks she would not look at anybody or speak to anybody. And she was, bless her, found with all her kittens, and they'd all died. And she wouldn't leave them. She was snuggled with them all, so she was really traumatized. So it's taken, I think we've had her a month, and she's a completely different girl now. And last night they were on the bed together. Her ears are up. She's a happy girl. This is Bungle after 3 hours playing last night. So his first night, we were really worried that he'd be a bit frightened, and he just loves his toys. He loves Samantha's bedroom, and Betsy likes him as well. So that's quite good, because we were a bit concerned. But her ears are up, and she's a real nice, clean girl now. And she washes herself. That's why I brought her home. She wasn't eating and she wasn't washing, so we thought we'd try her. But she's still funny with me. Even if I go in, she kind of looks at me and scowls. So I thought, well, I was poorly. I thought, I'll go sit with them and I'll take my watercolour book. And he sat on it. And he was sitting on it. And then he went to sleep on it. And he was like, no, I'm going to go to sleep on it. So he's not my baby, though. Samantha said he's going in my bedroom, so he's in her bedroom, and he's a happy boy. He's a happy boy. And so I have a very, very good existence. I can draw and I can play with kittens. And it keeps me happy. And bless him, look, he's gone back to sleep. I don't want to disturb him too much. Oopsie, he's gone back to sleep. And he's doing really well for his first day. As I say, he's had a really good play. He's had a really good nosy. So apologies, but there are probably going to be quite a lot of fluffy Bungle, because I didn't think I would liked him to sit on the desk. The same with Betsy, but she gets a bit too stressed as Betsy, so Betsy's better upstairs. She probably will get better, but the worst things were that we had 4 lots of cats with kittens, and she was in the pen and she could see the mummy calling them, and she could see them feeding, and I'm sure she was a bit kind of traumatized. So I thought, well, the best thing maybe to just bring her home. So we have, and bless hubby, bless him, he just said okay. And he was playing with Bungle last night. I keep getting, any more pets? I'm going to leave home. That was 5 pets ago. He's a bit of a snory boy, but he purrs when you stroke him, so he's such a happy boy, bless him. I'm going to use this ocean blue, because it's this one, and it's a gorgeous, gorgeous colour. I think we'll have these, and I found if you've got old cardigans on, I found that even if you're using pencil, if you put your sleeve on here, your sleeve doesn't kind of get hot and smush about as much. Now ideally I should have a piece of paper on there, but it's just difficult because Bungle's on the desk. So there's a lot of snorkeling and snoring going on in the corner. And my desk really isn't kitten proof, but I think cold legs would look quite good on there. So I need to do the back legs as well. So if I fill this in completely, what I can then do is, when I'm using the brush, and I will be probably using this one, once I've manipulated this, I can take that up there and I'll have a beautiful highlight of that colour, and then I'll clean the brush and I'll do the same, and then I'll highlight up that one. The same with this, I will activate this and I'll highlight it up to there. So I'm watercolouring, and this is with just a barely damp brush. It can be a water brush or a rigger. Riggers do better, but in this particular colour book I like this brush because it's thick. I've just realised actually what I could possibly do is maybe take one of these to bits. When one gets damaged, if I pulled the top out of there and you unscrew this when you want to fill it, that might actually make a chunky. If I put something in there like a squishy rubber, I could push the pencil up and have the fatness. Yes, I might do that. Again, somebody would mind map how to do it, and I will just kind of chop it up and go for it. Go for it. So I'm going to have a go at making some disabled things, because I think we need a little bit of something. I like that colour there, and that colour there. Oh, poor little Bungle is snoring. So I say the other kittens are going for their final vaccination, but he's got to wait a bit. But he did go to the vets 2 days ago, so I might have a word. But the best thing is, if his brothers haven't gone, my daughter's doing I forgot what it's called. It will come back to me in a second. Work experience. And so she has to go every day to play with the kittens and sort them out and do other things. So she will be able to take Bungle to play with his brothers all next week, so that would be wonderful. And then he can go with me on a Wednesday until all the kittens have gone. So he's going to be a bit of a gadabout town, I think. I think he's going to be a bit of a spoilt boy. I did not expect him to sit on my desk, actually, because he was so boisterous when he got back. And I do like the storm colour. I've used that though. There's cocoa, cool brown, Russell. I haven't got chestnut yet. And there's a purple, there's an aubergine and a juniper. I think I'm going to use juniper actually. And that'll give, we've had a bit of red. Oh, we've got port as well. Have a bit of port. I think I'm going to use port. And juniper, I'm going to do round the edge, and that will just go with everything else. And there's a bit of a chestnut. Chestnut would go. Port is number 1, so that's the reddest of them all. I think we'll probably do the stars red in that case. Oh, you can have some jewels on there. So again, I do tend to use my little book of watercolours, and it really is a scribble. And it wouldn't matter if it was Neo's, it wouldn't matter if it was any good quality water-based pencil or crayon. If the pigment is good, there's less binder, so the pencil and the colour just kind of glides on there. As soon as you touch that with water, it will melt into goodness. Chestnut colour, I wasn't going to use that one. I was going to use juniper. Number 2, which I got out and then lost. I think Bungle's eaten it. Baby down Bungle. There's juniper. I think I want this solid colour. I think it's going to look nice. but it is just a bit of a scratch. I'm not digging down. That's one shade, that's two, and that's three layers. Just very soft, very similar, because I can't press down, I've got poorly hands, and actually that's an advantage because it means I can just get the barest amount of colour. And so what I'm going to do with this is leave these pieces here. So as I'm travelling round, these will become a highlight, because there will be, after doing a very long amount of it, and the highlight will be at the bottom, but there again, who cares? So the highlight being at the top. And we could have, although that's a purple one, I think we'll have some little red, and these are going to be very strong. Oops. Sorry if the thumb's in the way. So I kind of like those. To look like little rubies. And again, this is the colour for the berries in the Joanna Basford's Christmas. And we know that the berries are red, but it's a muted red. It's not a bright cherry red. Now, after you've done so many with the brush, you'll end up with the colour on the brush itself. And so you're just picking up more colour every time you activate one. The other thing that I've tried to do, very rough, is, again, I'd want to do this on a Thursday, but my art's changing and I'll be doing some watercolour. So the first thing I'm going to do is Power Court Estate, because we went there when we went to Ireland. It's just south, excuse me, it's south of, I don't know what colour I want in there, but I'll do that now. Just south of Dublin and the Wicklow Mountains, so it was a very, very pretty place. And it appears in one of my colour books, which is the Watercolour Challenge. And I was very surprised. As soon as I got there, I thought, oh, I'm sure I've seen that before in a colour book, in my Watercolour Challenge book, and I had, so I was quite pleased with that. And I actually remembered something, so that was quite nice. I think we'll have a bit of red up there. And we had the juniper. I think I'll do this one. So it's quite funny how you can be inspired, and again, I'm always inspired by things I can see rather than things I just want to know whether I'm going to do that. I'm not sure what colours to do those. I want something that I haven't used in any of these. I've used them all. I think I might go around these little red dots and then go around the edge. So you've got a strong ruby and a pale one. I think I'm going to do that. The middle bit here needs a bit of something, and I think it's going to be the sage colour. I like that colour. And I know that because even though I'm moving pencil lines and scribble, the minute the brush touches it, it's going to turn into a fantastic watercolour, and I do not have to worry about it leaving a pencil line. A bit like the Caran d'Ache colour 2s, you scratch a bit of a lump, but you know you're going to get a nice colour, and that's very similar. The derwent pencils are very well pigmented. If you had a bit of a cheaper version or something that's not quite as well pigmented, you would like to do the solid colour and not have any pencil lines to begin with, and then by activating it you're not going to get any pencil lines afterwards. And I've left that bit, and I think this was this one. Yep. Oh, that was a good guess. So, left this bit now. I'll just do this bit. So this will be the end of part 2, and the next page I'll be using my Prismacolor watercolor pencils. And so this entire book is going to be completely filled with colour before I attempt any kind of water at all. So I think it's going to take me till Christmas. I am going to sit and do it in front of the TV rather than do it live, because I think let me have a look. I think that was the autumn red, wasn't it? And if you're very careful, you can just manage to skim over, because that's a darker colour. And I'll probably, I think I'll use something else to do these pale little frills. There will be enough colour on here to do that. Just probably going to put that little bit of red on that leg. And what's that one called? Well, I do like Storm. I'm a bit obsessed with this one, I have to say. So I'm sure there's enough colour on this page, so I don't have to worry about anything. But if you want a very, very strong colour, you need to colour the whole thing in. If you want a highlight, you want colour at the bottom, activate it and then manipulate it with a damp brush or a water brush, barely damp, and manipulate that up, then do the next side and do that up. So when it meets, it's going to be the palest and it's not going to have a difference. But there's a lot of videos that I've done that shows how to do that, so we know what's that. So that's the end of part 2. And we've got all that colour scratched. And because I've got this tracing paper at this side, and the advantage of tracing paper is if I decided that, well, actually I've got gaps because I do this a lot and I'd like something there, I can use the tracing paper when I've activated this page, and I can trace things and I can do a bit more. So that's the end of part 2 with my Derwent graphitint scratched pencil in, so it's all dry but it's not going anywhere. If you use pastels, if you used Inktense blocks or pure pastel or even probably Neocolor 2s, you couldn't do that. You would get a little bit on your hands and it will contaminate. But the pencils, especially the Derwent pencils, seem to be quite good at actually sitting on the page waiting for the watercolour. So that's the end of part 2. Thank you for watching.